Well, hi, friends. Jeff Hopper back here with Jeff Cranford in our series on who really is a Christian. And
good question.
We're going to dive right into Scripture today.
Okay.
In Revelation, the opening chapters of Revelation, we find Christ addressing 7 churches.
Correct.
And in one of those, he addresses the church of Laodicea, one of those addresses. And he has some pretty severe words. You alluded to them last time with regard to someone's being hot, cold, or lukewarm.
Right. You know, I think overall, and there's a lot of different interpretive views of Laodicea. Is that the last day church? Are any of these church representative of various churches at any time in one place in history? Irrespective of your perspective on that, I think the church at Laodicea, I would say, probably most closely represents the West today. And as we're talking about typically America, because oftentimes we don't have a lot of persecution. There's not a lot of in or out kind of things. It's easy to be lukewarm and go unnoticed. If I'm in a place like Syria right now, or I'm in Egypt right now, it's virtually impossible to be lukewarm. I mean, I'm either in or I'm out, and circumstances determine that. Yeah. It's not often you find a place in the world, really, where you can be even lukewarm anymore. True. And so it's easy for us. So I think this has particular application to us. And he was concerned because they say we're wealthy, we see, we're not blind, we have need of nothing. And in fact, he said, no, you're poor and miserable and blind and weak. Why? Because they weren't hot after God. There was a lukewarmness to it. They were certainly willing to go to church. They were willing to maybe attend a Bible study. But in terms of actually following Jesus in a hot, life-altering way, I think there was an unreadiness for that, and they felt that they could see. And you mix that with what Jesus said in John chapter 9. He said, you know, it's when you're blind that you actually see, but if you say that you see, you're blind and you still remain in your sin. So humility is really the foundation block, I think, and always the beginning place for being hot. It's recognizing that God created me and that there's no other alternative other than to give everything that I have to him. It only makes sense. It doesn't make sense to partially follow your Creator, partially pursue your calling, partially be engaged in things that have eternal consequence. It's really, we fool ourselves to imagine that there's any other way to follow the Creator of the universe and follow Jesus. So until we get to that place, New Testament's really hard to read. Pick up your cross and follow me. And you know, unless you do that, you have no part of me. I mean, we read those things and we almost chafe at it, and then we go back to our, what I oftentimes recall, refrigerator verses that make us feel comfortable. But we really need to analyze, and Paul said that. You know, check yourself to actually see if you're in the faith and not just holding to some kind of form. And so, in my view, that's really kind of the hot and the cold question, is the intentionality of the heart.
So you've convinced me that I want to be a hot follower of Christ. Next time, let's talk a little bit about what might be a mark of someone who is on fire.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.